We're doing a series of videos on factoring trinomials, and this is the third of them. Um, Today we're going to focus on factoring trinomials with a method called the Tic-Tac-Toe method. In the Tic-Tac-Toe method, obviously they're going to start with the Tic-Tac-Toe board and have an extra little box to the side. And for our first problem, I need to explain a little bit, which is why the highlighting is there. It's very specific what needs to go in which box. And so to start off, we need to identify A, B, and C as we normally would with a quadratic function in standard form. So in this case, I use the light green color for A, use a sandy brown color for B, and used the pink color for C. And I also put some marks on the tic-tac-toe board. A times C, we have a product there. That's going to be purple. And then in these other boxes down below, I color-coded them because this is going to help for our final answer eventually to get in the habit of what it's going to look like. So let's start off here with this first problem here. Let's take a look at A, in this case, is 1. C is 12. A times C would be 12. And B is 7. So as with normal factoring problems, we do need to think about a product and a sum at the same time. And for this particular one, we want for our two values here, two numbers that multiply together to 12 that add up to positive 7. Well, those numbers are 3 and 4. So now we have those filled. And next we're going to fill in the highlighted green and yellow spots. To do this, we're going to think of greatest common factors. So the greatest common factor between 1 and 3 is 1. Between 3 and 12 is 3. Between 4 and 1, greatest common factor is 1. Between 12 and 4, the greatest common factor is 4. And when you get this all set up, one thing to check is that all the products going horizontally or vertically need to match up. So 1 times 12 is 12, 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 4 is 4. The horizontal ones work out. Vertically, start from the bottom and go up. 1 times 1 is 1, 4 times 3 is 12, and 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, so we have all the items we need for the tic-tac-toe. To get our final answer, notice where we have the x's placed. The yellow ones are going to give us one of our factored pairs. So it would be 1x plus 3. And the other pair would be 1x plus 4. And that would be our factored form for our first problem. Okay, let's look at the second problem. It is not highlighted, but we can refer back to the one above it. First thing we're going to put in is A, which is 4, C, which is negative 6, and then A times C would be negative 24. B is negative 5 in this particular problem. So what we're looking for are two numbers that multiply to negative 4 that add up to a negative 5. And when we think about those numbers, they have to be 5 apart. So I'm thinking 8 and 3. And in this particular case, we will use negative 8 plus a positive 3 would make the negative 5, and 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. Okay, now filling in the other items would be greatest common factor numbers. I can use a little different color here for these. So greatest common factor between 4 and negative 8 would be 4. Between negative 6 and negative 8, we can actually use a negative number here, negative 2. Between 4 and 3 is 1. And between 3 and negative 6 would be 3. And we do want to check just that our products going horizontally and vertically do work out. So 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8, 1 times 3 is 3, and going back up vertically, 1 times 4 is 4, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. So we're good. To get our answer out of that, again, what we're going to do, one pair is going to be positive 1x minus 2, and our other pair is going to be 4x plus 3. You could then use FOIL to double check and make sure that works out. You would get 4x squared plus 3x minus 8x minus 6, which would result when you simplified it to our original problem. Okay, let's take a look at a couple other examples here. Number 3. So A is 10, C is negative 12, the product would be negative 120, and B is negative 7. We're looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 120 that add up to a negative 7. Okay, think about those numbers that multiply to negative 120 that add up to negative 7. I believe that would be negative 15 and a positive 8. Those have a product of negative 120 and a sum of negative 7. Now look at greatest common factors. Between 10 and negative 15 we have 5. And then 5 times what number is negative 15? This would need to be a negative 3. And now you can kind of just fill it in with products if you want. Some number times 10, some number times 5 is 10. This would have to be a 2. And the remaining box, 2 times some number is 8. That would have to be a 4. Check all the products, and they do work out in this particular case. So our final factored form would be 5x plus 4 times 2x minus 3. Okay, problem number 4. Wanted to give you a problem that you need to watch out for and be careful of when doing the tic-tac-toe method. And that is if there is a common factor in each of the terms in the trinomial before you even start, you need to first factor that out. So 12x squared plus 14x minus 6 can start by factoring into 2 times 6x squared plus 7x minus 3. And now work with the 6x squared plus 7x minus 3. So what we're going to do here is we're going to focus on using the highlighted trinomial here and work through this particular problem. Okay, A would be 6, C would be negative 3, the product is negative 18. Looking for a sum of 7. Two numbers that multiply to negative 18 that add up to 7 would be positive 9 and negative 2. 6 and 9 would have a 3 in common, and 3 times 3 is 9. 6 and negative 2 have a 2 in common, and 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Check all the products horizontally and vertically. They do work out in this case. So our final results are going to be 2x plus 3 times 3x minus 1. And please do not forget about that 2 that you factored out in the first place. So that's a little bit different type of a problem. Still works, but you need to factor out that common factor first. I'd now like to encourage you to please pause the video and try these two problems on your own, and then resume the video once you've completed it, and we'll go through the answers. Okay, now that you have tried these problems, let's take a look at the final results. For our first problem, hopefully you ended up with x plus 2 times 7x plus 1. And for the sixth problem there, I guess, would be x minus 4 times 3x minus 2. Thank you.